My name is Sachin Gura. I'm an author of an upcoming book called Wealth Sutra. Firstly, friends, thanks very much for subscribing to my YouTube channel, sending me alerts and mails in respect of messages, thanking me for your enlightenment in respect of cash flow, profit, and advices which I give. Now, friends, in the last week I had done video. Last time I had done video in respect of budget 2020, then the old and new tax regime, etc. Now there was a lot of confusion, but today I've got a video that what this confusion has been removed and how we can proceed forward. So basically, friends, before I proceed, I would like to tell that this is based on the April 13th circular which just came out today, sometime back. So basically, in this video, I'm going to explain that the old and tax regime, how people are going to apply, how they have to execute, and when they have to choose, etc., etc. So let me start with this. Today, I am telling you this update based on the law as of today, based on the circular. And if there is any subsequent changes, I'll update you. So let's start this, friends. Now, I will divide this discussion into two aspects. The first aspect is this, that how this new or old tax regime will affect the employees. So what the employees have to do, how they have to declare the tax regime, etc. This is what I'll explain. So the first and foremost case is, in case of an employee, he has only three options. How many options, friends? Only three options. Now, the first thing what the employee has to do is, if he has income other than business income, then he needs to declare based on computation of old tax regime or new tax regime, whichever is favorable to the employer, telling that, sir, I want to opt for the new tax regime. Now, once you opt for the new tax regime, remember the employer will deduct tax for the entire year based on the declaration, which is new tax regime. Now, although the employee has chosen the new tax regime and is a person who does not have business income, he can change whatever he has chosen the new tax regime to old tax regime before the filing the return of income. So what I'm concluding, if you're an employee, you have to wait what is old tax regime and what is new tax regime. And let us say if you find that new tax regime is favorable, go ahead and declare to an employer through an email or whatever process they have that please select the new tax regime and deduct tax for me. What the employer will do is he'll take the new tax regime, apply it to your income, and deduct tax in the entire 2021 based on this. Now, again, I'm repeating, even though the entire year the employer will deduct tax based on your new tax regime, before filing the return of income, if you feel that no, the old tax regime is beneficial, you can proceed for that. So again, I am repeating, it is an option for an employee to declare old new tax regime with the employer, and after certain time before filing of return of income, if he feels that no, I need to go to old tax regime, he has to recalculate tax. Please note one point very clearly, the employer's work is only this: whatever option the employee gives, he will deduct tax. If the employee doesn't give the tax option, then the employer will take the old tax regime. So this is first point which the employee will declare in the new tax regime. Second case, if an employee has a business income and he declares to the employer that please deduct tax for me based on the new tax regime. Please note, once an employee with a business income declares the new tax regime to the employer, then he cannot change this every year, and the employer will directly take that this person has a new new business income, and therefore he will continue to withhold tax for him continuously year after year. Now, what will happen in the third case where an employee will just keep quiet and not declare anything to the employee? It's very, very simple. The employer will just stick to the old regime and then deduct the tax for the year 2021. So friends, I'll just summarize again so that everything is crystal clear. And especially if you're an employee, I want you to please hear this very carefully and ensure this is implemented very carefully. So the first option is, if an employee has income other than business income, that is only salary income and certain dividend, and he chooses based on selecting old and new tax regime. I've also given in my previous regime and also given this video a template where you can first weigh which tax regime to be chosen. So first step, choose your tax regime. Second step, what the employer has to do is, if he has income other than business and profession, declare to the employer that I want new tax regime. Now, after you declare, the employer will deduct tax in your income based on whatever new tax regime is there for the entire year 2021. Now, what will happen if during the return of income, if you feel that no, I should have chosen the old tax regime, then in such case, you can revise that, compute the revised taxes and pay or get a refund as the case may be. So this is clear. Second option, if an employee has income, including business income apart from salary, And if he declares this to the employer, then the employer will take that new tax regime. And please remember, every year he will deduct tax based on this. Unlike the previous option where every year you have an option to declare employer the income, in the new regime where, sorry, in the second case where if you have a business income, the employer will stick to his method of new tax regime every year and you don't have a choice. Again, even if you are filing return of income, there is no choice as such in the first case. Now the third option, if you don't do anything and keep quiet, the employer will take the old tax regime and continue to deduct tax. Now, in the beginning of the video, I had explained you very clearly that what is new tax regime and old tax regime. Old tax regime is purely one where, you know, the concession and exemption deductions like your provident fund, your ATC deduction, your home loan interest, your 50,000 standard deduction will continue to be given and you will be charged at the old rate. If you choose a new regime, then there is concession tax rate of 15%, 20%, but you will not be able to claim the concession and deductions. I had also explained in my previous videos. Please go and see my previous video. Everything is there. Even otherwise, don't worry. In this template, Excel template, I have given a beautiful flow chart which you can understand. Now, let us move to non-employee category. Now, what about people who are not employees, who are self-employed, are having some interest and dividend income? What about them? It is very clear, friends. If you are a non-employee and you have income from business and profession, or if you let's say, for example, if you have a business or profession, then in such case you can choose the new tax regime. But believe me, I mean, remember that if you choose the new tax regime, then you cannot change it again. Second case, if you don't have a business income, then in that case again you have an option to choose between old and new tax regime, and every year you can change. So to give an overall summary, let me give a final conclusion for all the things which you have discussed. First thing, what is old tax regime? What is new tax regime? The government in 2020 budget, which is Finance Act 2020, had announced an old tax regime and new tax regime. What is old tax regime? Old tax regime said that if a person is an individual or HUF, only these two categories, then in such case he can choose to get tax between old tax regime and new tax regime. What is old tax regime? The same old rates, exemption, concession, deduction which was there in earlier year also you can claim. What is new tax regime? New tax regime is one where you cannot claim certain expenses, business allowances, etc., which the government has restricted. For example, if you are a salaried employee, you cannot claim HRA, you cannot claim ATC, you cannot claim LTA, etc., etc. It is there in my detail sheet. Please have a look. Now, these were what are the old and new tax regime. Now, what will happen if there is an employee and how he has to choose the option? If you are an employee and if you have income from other sources other than business, then in such case you please declare to your employer that I want to choose a new tax regime. Again, I'm telling you to weigh old or new tax regime. But if you feel new tax regime is better, then once you declare, the employer will withhold tax for you for 2021 based on this. Again, you have an option before filing return of income to change the option. So my suggestion would be compute both the options, declare to your employer, and then take a call before filing return of income how it goes. Second case, if the employee also has a business income and declares to the employer, then in such case the employer will take that for every year and withhold tax based on that. Now he will take the new tax regime and deduct based on whatever option you have given to him, and he will continue to do so year after year. There is no option for him to change unless your business income ceases. On the third case, where you don't do anything and you keep quiet, please note the employer will just go ahead and deduct tax based on the old tax regime, which is earlier year's taxes as applicable as per the slabs. Please note the employer's duty is only to take your input, which option to choose or not to choose. That's all. He is not bound by any other thing. The law is very clear. He's only required to take your option and deduct tax based on that. Further, his deduction of tax is based on your declaration or non-declaration. As I said, non-declaration implies you'll go to the old regime. I hope this is clear for employees. In case of non-employees, determine whether you have a business income, determine which option is better, old or new tax regime. Then you take a call that if you have a business income, if you choose new tax regime, you cannot change this every year. And please remember, you need to continue this year after year. But if you have income other than business income, you are flexible to choose the new and old tax regime every year and continue. So friends, my suggestion would be that the first step, just to conclude again, choose review old and new tax regime as per the template given by me. Follow the flow chart which I have given, see which category you are, and then arrive at a final decision. Further, as I'm saying, The government is saying before filing return of income also you have an option to change, subject to conditions, as I said, employee and other things as I explained in the earlier cases. So friends, this was a very, very important and educative video which I wanted to communicate to you. I'll also be doing future videos in the same manner so as to educate you, so as to generate your cash flow, profit, and net worth in your financial life. So my name is Sachin Garov, signing off. I'm an author of upcoming book called Wealth Sutra. Have a safe and secure weekend. Thank you very much.